Stefan, let's go to our final topic, which is a lot of fun. Grealish to Leverkusen, reports the Sun, as a possible Florian Wirtz replacement. Can I say something before we demolish this rumor? For what it is, I would absolutely love seeing Grealish in the Bundesliga. I know I know he is one of those players that I just absolutely adore watching. I think he's a fabulous footballer, and I know he comes with a bucket load of flaws, and he's probably not fit for the sort of pressing system that a lot of the Bundesliga teams play, which is what makes this story hilarious because he's anything but a Florian Wirtz. He's a fabulous footballer. He's one of those, he's a beautiful footballer, as I say, someone who he's a luxury. You mentioned the word luxury player in the past, and I think that's a perfect description for him because like he can do incredible stuff with the ball. He has an enormous amount of talent. He's not necessarily the best for your team, and this is probably why this is all bullshit. But I would absolutely love to see him in the Bundesliga, and I actually think his character would be something that would really add a lot of things. I mean, his bender when Man City won the Champions League was absolutely epic. I think we need more player stories like that. At a time when most players are absolutely boring. So I would love to see all of that, but I don't think we get to see it at Leverkusen, Stefan.
No, I mean, yeah, I'd love to see Jack Grealish in the Bundesliga. I think he's a great player. I loved watching him at Aston Villa. I thought he had some great moments in Manchester City. It obviously hasn't really worked out from there, like a lot of players don't, to be fair, at Manchester City. And Pep's very kind of specific about his forward players and what they do, and can often drill the kind of magic out of them, in my opinion. But I think he's still a fantastic player. And I agree with you. It'd be great to see him in the Bundesliga. You could make an argument that he would suit Ten Hag's system. Obviously, Ten Hag does play a kind of very possession style based football. Leverkusen would probably still look to kind of keep that kind of style of football that they had under Xabi Alonso. And in a sense, you could see how someone like Grealish breaking down deep defences would make perfect sense for Leverkusen. But this story is completely bonkers. You know, Obviously, Jack Grealish has a very active agent at this point in the year. He's obviously looking and fishing for a deal to get away from Manchester City. But the problem is that he's on £16 million a year, which I think works out at 18 million euros, 90 million euros maybe. And apparently, according to the Sun, Manchester City are holding out for 40 million euros. So Manchester City apparently are, according to the Sun, Leverkusen are going to spend 40 million euros to sign a 29-year-old player who's currently getting paid twice as much as their highest earner at the club. And maybe if we were talking about a club in Turkey or Italy or something like that, but this doesn't really happen in the Bundesliga for the most part. Certainly not a club like Leverkusen. And as we've kind of been saying for a while now, as we've been covering Xabi Alonso's departure from Leverkusen, the club have been desperate or are desperate to kind of get back to their kind of age-old standard of signing very young players. They like to sign young players, like to develop young players, and a perfect example of that's the players have already signed already this summer, who had it open in front of me there actually a minute ago. There we go. Yeah, Ibrahim Matza from Hertha Berlin, 19. Team Orman from Bochum, 21 years old. Obviously, Flecken's 32, but he's a goalkeeper. It doesn't really count. That's kind of the gist of it. Even like the team that Alonso kind of inherited. I know he added his own flavour to it, and maybe someone at the Suns look at him saying, "Oh well, they signed Jonas Hoffman, they signed Granit Xhaka, so they're obviously going to continue doing that." But those were the exceptions to the rule. And while Alonso definitely, played a huge role in Leverkusen winning that title, and those kind of older players that they signed played a huge role, the vast majority of that squad were players who joined the club when they were 22, 23, 24 years old. And that's what Leverkusen are going to go back to. So the idea of them spending 40 million euros and paying Jack Grealish the kind of money, even half the money he's making at Manchester City, Manu is just an absolutely bonkers idea. But I think we're going to have to bunker down and just kind of get ready for these kind of these stories, because everyone's going to see Leverkusen selling Verts, Leverkusen having money in their back pocket. So 2 plus 2 equals 5. I'm trying to think what the other one I saw was. I think I've seen Jadon Sancho this week, which I think is also bonkers.
Or he's going back to
Um,
Dortmund.
yeah,
Come
or
on, let's
yeah,
just end the speculation right now and say what everyone knows is going to happen.
yeah. I'm trying to think what. There's another one that just kind of made me chuckle as well. There's gonna be it's silly
Oh,
season. It
I
always is
saw
this
one
time of
too,
season.
or I saw another one too that I was just Anthony.
That's it. Yeah, Anthony. I mean, Anthony's a perfect example.
Yeah,
And the interesting thing about Anthony is that, so for anyone who doesn't cover English football, Anthony has the same agent as Eric Ten Hag, and there was a lot of kind of back and forth English football apparently that Ten Hag pushed for Man United to sign Anthony because they have the same agent, blah 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 blah. And I think his agent has actually had to come out this year and say Ten Hag had nothing to do with him joining Manchester United. And I think he said even so far as to say Ten Hag didn't want to sign him for Manchester United. So it'd be a very, very odd move if he then ended up at Leverkusen as well, to be honest with you. I think Anthony's a good player. He's shown that at Betis this season. I think Anthony is a player for a mid-table club in a top 5 league. That's what I think his level is. I think he's a player who needs space to run into. He needs to be counter-attacking. I don't think he would suit Leverkusen. I think Grealish would suit Leverkusen. I think he's a good enough player for Leverkusen, but maybe on loan, maybe if his contract had expired, maybe. But the idea of Leverkusen spending serious money
yeah.
on a 29-year-old is just bonkers to me.
These brew houses in Cologne, though, Stefan.
Oh, well, yeah, there's certainly none in Leverkusen. I know that for a fact. I've been on a
Oh, they
few
all
fact
live
finding
in
missions
Cologne,
there
and
at
they all
Leverkusen.
live in Cologne and Düsseldorf. So,
Yeah, yeah. Jack Grealish in the corner bunker would be the coach bunker, sorry, not the corner bunker, would be quite something.
we see
But
it's absolute
yeah,
scenes,
I can go there on holiday.
as many English people do. All right.